everyone, and welcome to the Jeff Bullis Show. Today with me, Dominick Keenan. Now, Dominick is the Vice President of Sales at Clickbank, where he focuses supporting Clickbank's current vendors and affiliates, as well as growing Clickbank's business. If you don't know what an affiliate is, we're going to cover that today for those of you who don't know what it means. Dominick has had several roles within Clickbank's sales organisation, including affiliate manager and business development, before taking the role of Vice President of Sales. In this position, Dominick focuses on supporting Clickbank's current vendors and affiliates, as well as growing Clickbank's business. Prior to joining Clickbank, Dominick worked in business aviation and commercial lending. He holds a bachelor's degree in aviation management from Rocky Mountain College and an MBA from the University of Montana. Welcome to the show, Dominick. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate it.
So, Dominick, you're... because Dominick's talking from Boise, which is in Idaho. If you don't know where that is, it's in the United States of America. And I actually have been to Idaho myself. So, beautiful state. So, Dominick, you're working for Clickbank, but you just go back a little bit. So, you did a BA in what was it, Aviation Management. Was there a love for planes there or something?
Yeah. Oddly enough, I'm a fourth generation pilot.
Wow.
And my family was all involved in aviation. I found out there's a friend of mine who flew for the airlines, and I looked up to him. He's a couple of years ahead of me while I was in college. And he told me that the divorce rate of airline pilots is something like 88%. And that sounded like a really expensive proposition, but it was too late to change my major. So we stuck with it. Still look up at every airplane in the sky, but no more flying for me.
So have you got your pilot's license?
Yep. I did. I really encourage anybody who's curious about it, go do it. It's one of the most satisfying accomplishments that you'll make. I mean, you're flying a big chunk of metal with an engine on the front of it through the air safely. Yeah. So I definitely check it out, but I don't know if that's the way I'd make my living currently.
Yeah. So you did your BA in aviation. Then, so what made you move into like working at Clickbank? And there were some other steps along the way, wasn't there, before you did that?
Certainly. Yeah, I had a prior career in commercial lending, and I thought, I was going to live the commercial banking lifestyle, the ascension path there. You put in your 25 years and someday you'll be somebody important in the bank. It was a good experience. I learned a lot about finance at the time and decided to go get my MBA. But a friend of mine in business school, he had actually been a friend of mine since high school, had taken a job, left the same bank I was working in, taken a job at Clickbank. And I was kind of surprised. He's always been very cautious, and he recruited me over. He goes, and it's about affiliate marketing. I can't really sum it up very well, but just come over and have an interview. And I did, and I didn't get it when I first interviewed, but I thought, hey, why not? I can always go back to banking. And really quickly, as I took on the role here, as I started to understand more and more about Clickbank's business, I realized we were just constantly working with everybody we work with is an entrepreneur. And we're not talking about huge businesses. Like we don't do business with Nike, but anywhere from $500,000 to $50 million a year. And they're owner founded. You're talking typically directly to the owner. They're very passionate about what they do, whether they're selling a product or they're promoting other people's products. And I loved working with those entrepreneurs and brands because I had such admiration for them. I've tried my hand at being an entrepreneur. It's scary. It's intimidating. It's difficult. It's a grind. And I got to be close to these people that I admire without kind of exposing the weaknesses of my entrepreneurial ability. So it's been a phenomenal 7 years.
Yeah. So maybe you could, seeing you've been there and you understand what affiliate marketing is, can you explain in simple terms what an affiliate is?
Yeah, an affiliate is somebody that a seller, business owner is willing to pay to go acquire a customer for them. So in Clickbank, there's all kinds of affiliates out there, but specific to Clickbank, we deal primarily with two types, media buyers, and oftentimes that focuses on Facebook or native ads, and then email affiliates who have very well curated and segmented lists that are targeted to specific products. Those people tend to, especially the emailers, to have good relationships with the audiences that they have, and they're well segmented. So it's not just, you think of like a health and fitness minded email list. That's probably even too broad. It would be like, females that are interested in keto, or younger females that are interested in yoga. So they have those audiences dialed in pretty well. Our job is to ensure that the sellers and the affiliates are able to meet each other and do business together.
Yeah. So essentially, an affiliate, it's a partnership really, because you need both the buyer and the seller. So the seller is someone who wants to meet an audience of keto, fitness fanatics, female, and there's a person that's basically has an email list already that is sent out regularly, and someone who wants to be introduced to, let's say it's her audience of email on that email list, they basically can reach her audience through her email list, and she promotes a recommended high quality product or service through that. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. And think of it from the seller standpoint. Think of it as being able to get much more broad distribution than you would be able to on your own. I mean, a lot of businesses have email lists, or they have some internal capability when it comes to media buying. It might be great at Facebook or creating YouTube videos or whatever it may be. But there's tens of thousands of active affiliates on Clickbank. You can't be tens of thousands of places at once. And so you're likely to attract affiliates that end up promoting you in places, the seller, promoting the seller in places that you may not have thought of, or you don't have the time to go pursue. So it adds significant distribution.
Yeah. And someone who's got an email list that's very well segmented and high quality, in other words, high engagement, they can make quite a deal of money from an affiliate relationship, selling other people's products that are targeting their audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what does Clickbank do? Describe what Clickbank does and why people should care in terms of your services.
Sure. So Clickbank's been around since 1998, and most people recognize Clickbank as an affiliate network, which it is. Clickbank also provides conversion, enhancing features. So post-purchase upsells, we manage recurring billing, scaled merchant processing. But at the core of the affiliate network, we do not simply tell the seller, hey, Jeff sent an email and he made one sale, so pay Jeff this much money. Clickbank collects all the money and then ensures that everybody gets paid what they agreed to before the sale happens. So in that case, you don't have to worry about whether the seller is going to pay you or not, which happens fairly frequently in affiliate marketing, right? You got to send them an invoice and they're going to PayPal you some money someday. No, we've collected all the money and we're going to distribute it the way that everybody agreed to beforehand. So if you're promoting an offer at a vendor that's somewhere on the other side of the globe, what are you going to do? Take them to court in Cyprus? No, that's too much hassle. And it happens right at the moment of transaction. So everything is split instantly. I often refer to it as the clearinghouse function of Clickbank. Clickbank will take care of all the back office, the sales tax or the VAT tax is paid, the affiliate's paid, and what's left is yours, the seller. You don't have to worry about invoicing and paying.
Yeah. So basically, Clickbank is a trusted portal to connect buyers and sellers, and to make sure that they get paid on time and regularly.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Right. So, what are some of if someone's got an email list already, could you take us through maybe some of the best practices for them for someone working with them to get to sell their product to their audience? What are some of the best practices?
Yeah, so if you already have an email list or an audience, first, we would assume that what the interests of that audience are and the types of products that they would be interested in. And ultimately, the goal is right to sell and earn commission, but at the same time, you have to worry about your reputation in front of that audience. And so I would encourage anybody with that list to go take a look at the offers that are available to promote, and then get in touch with the owners of those offers. What do they work on? Is the owner easy to work with? Is this the type of product that you want to be introducing to that list? Commission's great, but if you destroy that email list, now you're destroying an asset down the road. Likewise, on the seller side, there's a couple pitfalls that we see that sellers make. One of those is they're not engaging their affiliates enough, not building relationships with them, because there's risk on the seller side as well that somebody decides to become your affiliate and then they don't treat your brand name with care like you would. And a lot of that can be mitigated by going in and having a relationship with the affiliates that you allow to promote your offer. At scale, when if you have hundreds or thousands of affiliates promoting you certainly need an affiliate manager. But oftentimes an affiliate manager is viewed as somebody who's tracking those invoices, right? They're responsible for making sure that the money's paid and all of that. Really, what we say is you should have a relationship manager where that person knows where these affiliates are promoting. And on top of that, if you're saying a common restriction that that sellers will place on affiliates is don't brand bid on search, because that's the property of the brand. And that affiliate manager would then be going in, not every day, maybe once a month, checking and making sure that your brand isn't being infringed on upon by your affiliates. And if it is, go take care of it. They know exactly who to call, exactly who that affiliate is, so that both sides are aware of the ground rules and following them.
Yeah, I think certainly in my experience, in that some people said, like, become my affiliate, here's the link, go do something. In other words, very, very hands off. That certainly doesn't work very well generally, I've found. We've found that being very content centric in terms of adding value to an audience as part of making an offer to the audience is very, very important. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Jeff, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's one thing if you're selling, a widget for small commission, like we all see the widgets that are in native ads, but when it comes to particularly higher price products or branded products, you certainly want to have some level of content and collaboration between the seller and the affiliate. We certainly encourage, beyond those relationships with the affiliate managers, we certainly encourage, like, have an affiliate tools page that has all the information that they need, because in the end, sellers, and I'd be curious your take on this, but sellers, of course, are competing for buyers, right? Every business is competing for buyers. But in this space, sellers are just as much, if not more, competing for affiliates, because that's distribution for their product. And if it's easier to work with one seller versus the other seller and all other things are equal, they're going to go with number one every time. I mean, make it easy to work with, easy to provide the collateral. Do you run into that a fair bit, where here's the link, good luck?
Yeah. And we actually changed our program where if you want to sell your product to our audience, it's got to be a relationship that is essentially content centric. You provide high quality content. We may be a little different in some sense, in that some of the channels that often aren't thought about by affiliates is sellers is that sure, it's good to do a promotion to the list to promote someone else's product that wants to reach your audience. On the other hand, because we have got really strong Google authority for search engines, in that we can rank on page one quite quickly for a search term like whatever that is. But what we do, that's why the content's important to us, and we will publish a blog post, for example, that will get thousands of visits, and within that blog post will be an affiliate link where we're adding content of value. And so we are very much about not just doing wholesale hit your list with a promotion, but yeah, sure, we might do that once or twice, but on the other hand, it's important that it's relevant through content-centric approach for the affiliate. So I don't know if any of your partners focus on that, but what we've done is also we say that if you want to sell and reach our audience, well, you need to make a small commitment, and that's like a sponsored post up front, and then also to help us collaborate and co-create content together. So that's essentially how we do it. And then it's a better collaboration and partnership rather than here's a link, go sell,
Yeah, I think those are critical for gaining quality traction. The whole here's a link, good luck type thing, that'll work on some affiliates. Some affiliates are more than happy to burn an email list to the ground or run some garbage native ads, but that's really a short-term way of looking at things, because the moment somebody out converts you just a fraction of a penny more, that traffic's going elsewhere.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to touch on is you mentioned ambassador program. So can you explain what an ambassador is? Because in this world of digital marketing, which is what we're talking about essentially, sometimes it's like a black box. It's we use terms that no one. Ambassador, things like is someone who actually is a very important person that's sent to another country.
Right.
So can you explain what an ambassador is in how you set them up and what you recommend if you want to hire an ambassador to actually help you sell your product?
Yeah, so just to be clear, here at Clickbank, we don't facilitate ambassador programs, but we often refer people out to them. And there's a bunch of platforms that will make it pretty easy to build an ambassador program. But it would be for some highly branded, oftentimes companies that don't have the margin built into their business to pay affiliates enough to reach scale, can then turn around and rely on their biggest fans to promote their offer. It's at a smaller scale, but those are your raving fans on their personal social media and things like that. So the most common we see is, here's a coupon code to try out this great supplement that has made me ripped in tone just in time for summer. So it is a way to kind of, I would say it's, the cousin of affiliate marketing, in that you're not going to get as much distribution, but if people are passionate about your product, they're willing to do that. You see that in products all the time where, hey, you refer 5 people, you get a free t-shirt. It's crazy what people do for a free t-shirt.
I know, it's like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So an ambassador program can almost be seen today as an influencer relationship, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Influencer at smaller scale, hopefully not prepaid. Bigger influencers are going to have to prepay. Yeah. And the influencer side is also kind of the other side of the spectrum, where it's not necessarily performance driven. You're paying a flat fee in advance for a post or some type of behavior online.
Yeah. And typically what we've found in the past too is because you're dealing with international organisations that aren't necessarily big, is that prepayment becomes very important in terms of ensuring you get paid. The other interesting part too, the other one I want to mention too, is margins. We'll get back to that in a minute. And I'll be interested in your thoughts on this. Anyway, we'll go straight to margins. So the interesting thing with margins is... And this is what we've discovered too, is that selling physical products typically have a lot lower margins. In other words, physical products versus virtual products or digital products. So, and we've seen the rise of digital products such as software as a service type platforms that And typically software as a service type platforms that provide a platform to control your social media, and everything, like whether it's a collaboration tool or whatever. Typically those companies, software as a service companies, have huge margins compared to physical products. Because the challenge quite often is with affiliate marketing is, if you sell this for me, I'm going to give you 5%, and you're going, I I don't get out of bed for 30%, right? So it's
Right. Yep.
what's your observation on margins? Because I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, it's so the absence of margin to acquire a customer makes it very difficult to compete for affiliates. And I'll give you an example. This one just came across my desk earlier this week. Is one of the guys that works here who had a question about whether a product would be good for Clickbank, and it was a couple $1,000 air compressor for welders specifically.
Right.
And probably not. I just don't see a broad enough market for it. And so we asked, I said, well, it's probably not going to work on Clickbank, but we don't have affiliates for welding air compressors, but we can refer them somewhere. And so ask him what it costs him to acquire a customer. This is like a $4,000 machine, right?
Yeah.
And it comes back and he says, not very much, $20, $30, because the brand is well known in the welding industry and people come to them to buy it.
Mm.
Well, nobody's promoting your air compressor for $20 or $30. So that's such a niche down, very narrow. There's no margin left for it. Where we see massive scale, where you're talking about thousands of affiliates promoting something, and six-figure days for products, is currently, like, the supplement space is taking off like crazy, because supplements are actually fairly low COGS, low cost of goods. But people are willing to pay for them, especially after the advent of the pandemic. People became very health minded. They were willing to pay more attention to that. And so we'll see scaled offers take off with an average commission over $120 per sale and a conversion rate of at least 1%.
Yep.
At that point, they've entered orbit. Below that point, you can find niche affiliates that are going to promote that type of product. Again, I don't know that there's very many welding compressor affiliates. But going back to what you were saying, having the margin, or at least the budget built in to acquire customers, is critical. And so when I get on the phone with somebody who's inquiring about getting into the affiliate space, I always ask them, what does it cost you to acquire a customer? Mm-hmm. And that or more should be what you're willing to pay an affiliate to acquire a customer for you. Most companies will know their cost of acquisition, but it's just kind of flipping that switch and saying, okay, if you're willing to pay your internal media buyer $50 to acquire a customer, why wouldn't you be willing to pay $50 to somebody else? And then that gets them beyond the low ball of, we'll pay them 5%. 5% is what Home Depot pays for YouTubers to sell DeWalt drills. It's just not that. They can pay that because they have this massive brand. Unless you have a brand like Home Depot, it's not going to work.
Yeah. It's we've been involved in affiliate marketing for quite a few years, but a little bit different. Rather than mass marketing, it's more niche marketing, and experiment with different ways. And but we've sort of, I suppose, doubled down a lot more into maybe two markets we deal with, which is, we may be helping someone sell a $2,000 online course or a $1,000 online course. Well, you're not going to sell that with one little ad or one email. It's essentially almost a launch program that we will partner with them on, versus a software as a service type product that's maybe only less than $100 a month to subscribe to, or even $10 a month. You can do that without a big commitment of huge marketing or a whole series of marketing. So, but typically we specialize in high margin partnerships because there's enough profit to share with everyone. And I think that's where it's a win-win.
Yeah, and those are oftentimes more the ones that are done right are more robust, I think would be the term, than people tend to think. We're just wrapping up a 10-day launch with a great client of ours named Aiden Booth. And Aiden's done very well. He and his partner, Steve Clayton, own all of the top selling days on Clickbank. But they view their launch, the transactions occur within 10 days, but the work for their launch begins 6 months in advance.
Oh, yeah.
And so everybody thinks, well, they just sent an email and all of these sales occurred 10 days. No. We're talking about planning immediate for the following year, immediately after the current launch begins.
Yeah.
Or current launch ends.
And they typically, I'm sure, they just have a window of a week where they're actually selling their product. And if you don't buy it now, so they're creating scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Yeah. So they're creating scarcity.
10 days.
You can only buy it in this 10-day period. Otherwise, it's over and you can't buy it for another year.
Yep. Exactly.
Which sounds crazy, but it does. The way that works is because it creates scarcity. And if you just say, oh, here's a product, buy it, people go, oh, I'll get there next week. Oh, maybe the week after. Oh, I've only got, I really want to learn about this. I need to get this product. I need to train myself. So that's a little bit of the Walker launch formula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, it's interesting you get involved in that as well. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they're great guys to work with and very good friends. But the first time I saw the way how disciplined they were, because I mean, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars in sales. This is not joking around money. And the processes that they had set up over years to ensure that this works properly, I still work with them to this day and have a lot of admiration. You know, there's a lot of solopreneurs that don't have that business background that these guys do. And so they spend a lot of time both, running the day-to-day of their business that way, but also training the people that they work with that are employees in their company on how all of this works. And they go on and become great entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah. You're right. From a distance, it looks easy. They just send out an email, but no, it's a whole launch running typically over 2 to 3 weeks. That takes people through the sales funnel from interest to engagement to, it involves creating webinars. It creates involving ebooks, and the list goes on. And when you look under the hood at those sort of launches, it's a machine, a complicated machine, and you've got to write the copy. You've got to then make sure test it. You can make sure your payment systems all work. I admire that. I work with quite a lot of them that do that, and I'm just quite blown away with the incredible machine that they have built over years and fine-tuned it and evolved it too. Yeah.
Yep. It takes a lot of discipline. It's impressive.
Yeah, it does. What are some of the Evergreen Foundations that are important if you're going to be involved in affiliate marketing, whether it's the buyer or the seller? What are some of the Evergreen Foundations that you think are really, really important?
So, that's a great question. I would say the relationships are critical. I know we've talked about this a little bit in how you work with affiliates and all of that, but do we have time for me to tell a really brief story, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So a couple years ago, 5-6 years ago, we were trafficking conversion, and we had a VIP room. So it was like our platinum client group got in to be able to sit, and I cannot remember who was speaking, but it was somebody everybody wanted to see. And there was people trying to get in, and some YouTuber came with his whole camera crew and lights and everything. It was distracting. So we're kicking these people out, trying to let everybody enjoy the talk. And my boss told me to go watch the door. And in walks this woman who stands about my age, stands at the back of the room, and she didn't have the right lanyard. And so I felt terrible, but I was like, I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait outside until this is done. And she said, I promise I'm just here to learn. I'm in the back. I won't bother anybody. And so I said, yeah, that's fine. Who wants to kick this lady out? But after the talk was over, she worked the room incredibly. And it wasn't salesy. She was genuinely curious about everybody's business and how she could help them, how they could help us, or how they could help her. And she built an incredible network across. I mean, her business blew up within 18 months, one of the largest businesses on Clickbank. It's a program, yoga program that helps with back pain. And I think she would say the same, would attribute a lot of her success to her ability to network. And she does a great job. And she's a very genuine person. She's very genuine when you're talking to her live. And that relationship building, whatever that, your skills are in relationship building, leverage the hell out of them, because those are going to be, they're not your business partners in that you have a company together, but your business will rely on those people going forward in the affiliate space. Second, on Evergreen, I have a lot of optimism for the industry in that in my time here, I've seen this industry adapt very well to changes that are forced on it. So over the past 2-3 years, we've seen some pretty significant changes in the market. For our European friends, it would be the GDPR regulations. For us here in the States, the CCPA regulations. Those of you in the Facebook world, the iOS 14 update caused some significant disruptions. I mean, we could build a list of those things going back for years and years. But what we see consistently is the ability of marketers in this space to adapt and to figure out how to continue to reach the audience with targeted, well-targeted either ads or products, whatever it may be. So I know, I've spent many a late night here on frustrating phone calls, most recently about iOS 14, but the industry continues on. And so as far as being evergreen, I would say, don't rest on your laurels. There's constant change. And the people that are most successful are able to adapt to that change. We have seen sellers where, they reach the top of the market and then they don't do anything with the offer to optimize it for, a year. Well, you're not going to stay up very long as conversion rates tail off. Somebody else is going to do better, and affiliate traffic flows that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it mentioned quite a few times. It's iOS 14.5 which is where Apple basically removed the ability for Facebook to actually scrape privacy, data. I'm seeing rumors and noises now about brands starting to use influencers more because they want to reach, because typically a very highly engaged audience that matches where you want to sell your product to. But the challenge with influencers is scalability again, in that you can have influencers, but it's got to be a lot of the time manually done. But there's platforms out there that's trying to, I suppose, automate that. But the trouble is that's still messy. How do you see that at the moment?
I don't pretend to be an expert on influencer marketing, but we're close to that space.
That's why I asked
the only thing that I see is a little bit of a disconnect or an advantage on the affiliate side is that an affiliate marketer is very much mutually aligned with the seller. They benefit together. If the affiliate makes a sale or drives a lead, then the vendor, they both benefit. On the influencer side, I don't see that type of mutual alignment quite as much. If I pay you $10,000 for a social media post, once the wire gets to you, you don't really care what happens on me, the seller's side, right? I mean, you probably do because you'd like to work again and me to mail you another $10,000, but there isn't that direct alignment of motivation yet. I'm sure someone will solve for it, but.
Yeah, I think the other side to that is, and this is what's interested me with influencers, as because I suppose I'm an influencer in the B2B space more than anything else with entrepreneur and marketing, but you go to a lot of these influencers and you have a look, and all they've got, they don't even have a website quite often. Or they're quite often just they're just on one platform, whether it's a YouTube or whether it's Instagram. For me, I would be really nervous as an influencer, especially B2C influencer, in that, one, what if you got banned? That's happening. China just removed about 10,000 influencers due to their government regulations. So they don't have no other way to reach their audience except through that one particular channel. And as we both know, that the algorithms for every platform on the planet now, from email to YouTube to Facebook to Twitter, is being tweaked, and Google search. The algorithms are just being constantly tweaked, and you can have traffic one day and half the traffic the next day because of an algorithm change. So yeah, you're right. The influencer is just doing one post on Instagram or one on YouTube, and that's it. They just don't have that, I suppose, diversity of channels that someone who's playing the long game. Because the thing that I really I try and impress upon everyone in business, especially, is you got to be playing the long game. And if you're just on one channel, that's your base, and it's not a channel you own, that would make me extremely nervous.
Oh yeah, I mean, would you trust Mark Zuckerberg with the future of your business exclusively? Probably not. To be honest with you, Jeff, some of the best entrepreneurial stories, people that have built really awesome businesses, came from one. I hear this story all the time. Well, I was killing it on Google Display, and we were just making money hand over fist, and it was no big deal. And then I woke up one Wednesday morning, it was gone. Yep. Algorithm change, or got banned, or whatever it may be. Yep. And then they eventually diversify out of that, so that type of thing never happens. I mean, insulate your business to that for sure. It's heartbreaking to see businesses built and then broken so quickly because of a single point of failure.
Yeah. I think that's certainly, I've been banging that drum for a long time, is that own your platform. It doesn't mean don't use other platforms and social media, email and so on, search. But I've been through the whole rise of social media organically until 2013. So I was, in the digital world very intensely. I've been in it since actually mid-80s, but technology digital world. But the social media world that I grew up in introduced to in 2008. By 2013-14, the organic reach of social started to be severely restricted as basically, as Facebook said, well, we won't let you reach the audience you've built over 5 years. What we're going to do is you're going to have to we'll charge you to reach it. It became, in 2014, that was the start of the revolution of pay to play. And of course, we know that, would you trust Mark Zuckerberg to look after your business? No, he cares about one thing, him and Facebook. And the cost of ads just happens to keep going up. Strange about that.
Yeah, that continues to march on. There's a company called Ezoic, I think is how you say it, that has the CPM. I think it's called the CPM index for display ads in the US, is the chart that we pay attention to. There's definitely a dip right around the beginning of COVID, and then a dip right after Christmas and the elections. But the trend line is always up and to the right.
Yeah. And then that's the cost of acquisition starts to become the biggie, the elephant in the room. Yeah.
And that's where margin becomes critical, having margin to acquire those customers.
Exactly. Is there anything, any recommendations you make to people that are thinking of doing affiliate marketing, or whether you're a buyer or a seller?
Yeah, a couple of things. So whether you're a buyer or seller, go to clickbank.com/podcast. We have a quick funnel or a quick quiz funnel there that'll make sure that you get to the information that you need. Happy to take care of that. We're also really active on social media, all the major stuff, or find me directly on LinkedIn. But Jeff, real quick, I would want to plug a marketing book that I just finished that I thought was phenomenal. And it's Alchemy by Rory Sutherland.
Alchemy. Yep.
Yeah, and it took a lot of. So he worked for one of the big marketing firms in the UK.
Yep.
And he's had a very long career. And as you read about all the different things that they worked on, just like it's a very entertaining book. I recommend the audiobook because he has one of those really nice British accents. But you start to see the psychology of everything that he was doing in the 60s and 70s is the same psychology that we're applying online today. So things that got more, subway riders back then for London are the same types of things that we're doing today. So if nothing else, definitely check out that book. It is certainly worth your time.
Yeah, I've written it down. I'm an avid reader. One book I've just read recently, which is the $100 Million Offer, which is basically about creating an offer that's so strong that the customer says, I have to buy this. And again, it goes back to the basics, and we're talking about things like what it means to be human, and what drives people to buy. And so scarcity is one of the big ones. It's not brand new news, but the way he's packaged it up and talked about it, it's very, very good books as well. So,
I'll have to read it. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll check out. I think Alchemy. I might have even read it. So I read about 50 to 70 books a year. So sometimes they're lost in the mist of time.
Yeah, I hear you. Same here.
So, anything else, Dominic, you'd like to share before we finish up here?
No, that's it. We're more than happy to help people. I would just say, if you look, say you come to Clickbank or you go to any affiliate network, and you're just like, that's not really right for me. There are a lot of niche affiliate markets out there that are worthwhile. I just referred an outdoor brand to a company out of Park City called AvantLink. This company, all they do is outdoor stuff. They are affiliates for ski bindings, for hiking boots, for backpacks, all of it. That's all they do. So just because the first place you look isn't ideal, check it out. There's all kinds of niche networks out there that'll reach the audience that you're specifically targeting.
And you've got some great resources and training, I'm sure, in terms of helping people optimize or become and optimize what they're doing with affiliate marketing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks, Dominic. It's been an absolute pleasure. Zooming in from Boise, Idaho. It's an absolute pleasure. And as we shared before, we had a little bit of a back channel chat, and Dominic said to me, not many people have been to Idaho. I said, well, I actually have been to Idaho. I didn't get to Boise, but I did get to Spokane. So I think that's the correct pronunciation. I'm not quite sure.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Dominic, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.